Uh, I guess let me just give you a little bit of my history, my background, the work that I do. I do work for the Urban League of Westchester. I'm a program developer there. I'm also a case manager. I work with individuals who are unemployed and underemployed. I do job readiness training programs. And I'm also one of the founders of the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform. We meet every fourth Thursday of the month at the Slater Center in White Plains. We are not the White Plains Coalition, we are the Westchester Coalition. That means anyone is welcome throughout Westchester County and even beyond if you want to be a part of that coalition. Also sit on the board with the Civil Liberties Union, the Lower Hudson Valley. I guess I was I've always been the type of person to want to give back to my community, to help out, but I guess I was thrust into the forefront almost 5 years ago. On November 19th, I received a phone call at about 5-something in the morning. It was one of my friends. And when I answered the phone, he said to me that I needed to get to White Plains right away. When I asked him why, he said, I don't know, but the police are banging on your father's door. You need to get out here. So I asked him, well, why are they banging on my father's door? He said, I don't know, and then he just yelled out, oh my God. And I asked him, what happened? He said, I think the police just shot your father. I dropped the phone, put some clothes on, and just ran out the house. I get to White Plains, and the officers on scene direct me to White Plains Hospital. I get to White Plains Hospital. You know, you kind of lose track of time when things like this happen, so I can't tell you how much time elapsed. All I know is I was sitting in a room and a doctor came in and he just said to me, I tried to save him, but I couldn't. Your father expired. As Naz said, it seemed unreal. I'm staring at the doctor and I'm just, what? And I asked to see my father. He took me into the emergency room and I saw my father laying there with his eyes wide open. His tongue was hanging out of his mouth and he had a bullet hole in him. And I just looked at him and I asked one question, what happened? And from that point, I was disrespected. Police officers looked at me and they said, we don't have to tell you anything. He began to curse at me. I said to the police officer, well, you know the difference between me and other people you've done this to? He said, what? I said, you're dealing with an intelligent black man. I know how to fight you. He looked me up and down and he said, F you. I said, okay. The next thing I know, I was surrounded by 15 officers who wanted to hurt me. All because I asked one simple question, what happened? Now, just to kind of fast forward, they promised a full and fair investigation. It took 5 months before the city of White Plains gave its condolences to my family, and they did that via email. They didn't even meet with my family. In May of 2012, the Westchester County DA came back with no true bill, meaning no indictment in the killing of my father. They said that the killing was justified. They said that my father posed an imminent threat to life or well-being, and that the police had to take his life. But during that 93 minutes at my father's house with the police officers, he was cursed at, his military service, he was mocked. Racial slurs were hurled at him. And when a reporter asked the Westchester County DA at that time, Janet DeFiore, well, what about the racial slur that was hurled at Mr. Chamberlain before he was killed? She said, yes, it was said, it did happen, it shouldn't happen, but it was used as a tactic to distract Mr. Chamberlain. No outrage from anybody. Only with our culture can the word nigger be used as a tactic to distract somebody. No other race could you use any type of racial or ethnic slur and say that it's been used as a tactic to distract. So we had filed a civil suit against the city of White Plains, against the police department. And a lot of times people think that when you file civil suits, it's just for money. No. What happens then is that it allows your attorneys now to ask the questions that may or may not have been asked on a local level, especially when they come back with no indictment. So it's an insult sometimes when people look at you and they say, oh, well, you're going to be rich in a minute. And you kind of look at them, there's no amount of money you can give me that's ever going to bring my father back. Because if there was, then give me that, I'll give it back to you, and you give me my father back.
That's right. That's right.
So for 5 years now, the city has been fighting us. They have been trying to get the case thrown out of federal court, saying it's frivolous. They have even tried to get a gag order on me for me to stop talking because they said I'm conducting my own investigations. But one of the judges or magistrates that, when they mentioned that to them, he said, but that's his father. I expect him to do that. I would wonder what was wrong with him if he wasn't. So now here we are, almost 5 years later, and we go into the courtroom, and we have a packed out courtroom, standing room only. The judge comes out, and we're sitting there, and she begins to talk about the case, but she starts throwing out a lot of pieces of the case. And I'm sitting there, and I'm nervous now because I'm saying, oh my God, she's going to throw this case out. I turn around, and I see marshals come in the door. I've never seen that in a courtroom before, when marshals start to file in the courtroom. So to me, that's an indication something is going to be said that shouldn't be said, or people are not going to be happy. But at the last minute, she said that police officer Anthony Corellia is not protected and that he has to stand trial. And that is the officer that shot and killed my father. So we do have our day in court. And I'm so thankful for that. Our next court date is November 3rd. That is the final pre-trial conference. And we have to pack that courtroom out. We have to be outside that federal courthouse. We have to let the judge know that we're watching this case, and we're watching closely. And that it's the judge's responsibility to be fair and impartial, not to lean on any side of this issue. So again, our next trial, our court date is November 3rd. That's final pre-trial. November 7th is jury selection. We need to be outside the courtroom. But then the trial date is November 9th. That is the day that after 5 years, the man that murdered my father he's got to look me in my face. And he's got to tell me why he killed my father. You know, when Patty first asked me about participating in this, I never say no when people ask me to be a part of things like this, because as Cynthia and I were talking earlier, I'm a believer that each one teach one. Okay, whatever information you have, you pass on to somebody else, you give it to them. So when I was asked to be a part of this, and she said, hey, you know, because we didn't forget, and we want to let you know that. To see all of you, like my brother Damon said, I see new faces. I see faces who I've never seen before. So that means that the message is getting out there, and people are beginning to realize that this is a problem and that you can no longer turn your back to. To see you here, to say that you're standing with us, that you support us, that you didn't forget us, it's an honor. And on behalf of my family, I want to say thank you. But as I sat here and I'm listening to Nas, and I'm looking around and I'm thinking about the issues that we face as a people, I cannot in all good consciousness come in here, be a part of an event like this, even accept any type of honor without really doing what I've been called to do. Now, sometimes when you speak truth to power, it makes people feel uncomfortable. But as Pastor Wheeler said to me almost 5 years ago, he said, sometimes people have to be made to feel uncomfortable before they'll get up and do something. So anything that comes out of my mouth, I make no apologies for at all. And anything that I say, I can back it up statistically and factually. We say, or this event is what we didn't forget. So to me, that means we can't fail to remember or put out of our mind the tragedies that are taking place in our cities. It's a part of our history. And we know that the quote or the saying goes that those who don't remember your history are what? You're doomed to repeat it. So we need to remember. Now, one of the problems that I have with our issues is that they try to jumble them all together. Okay, you hear Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, Black on Black crime, Blue on Black crime, White on White crime. All of it senseless killings. Killings that don't have to happen. Statistically, 93% of black on black crime, their victims, 93% of them are by black people. But 83% of white homicide victims are killed by other whites. Ours is publicized more. The media puts ours out there more. I'm not saying that it's not a problem, but there is a perception of black people in the media. Exactly. Okay? There's an implicit bias. So our white counterparts, when they commit the same exact offenses, especially with our justice system, they're treated differently. But I'm not here to talk about them. I'm here to talk about us because we're talking about our communities. Now, what is my stake in Mount Vernon? I have a 14-year-old daughter that goes to school out here. I never want to get a phone call if something happened to my child out here. That is one of my biggest fears. She goes to Mount Vernon High School, and my biggest fear is that something is going to happen to my child. I pray every day that it doesn't. But the other issue that we have is with our law enforcement. Damon Jones spoke about it, that you had a police officer out here that put BLM up, which is supposed to stand for Black Lives Matter, but he put burglary, larceny, murder. And the people out here not saying anything about it. And then he defended the position against another police officer who told him it was inappropriate and to take it down. So what does that say about him enforcing the laws in our community? Can he effectively do it and do it fairly? That's something you need to ask a question about. See, we are 13% of the population, and yet we are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by law enforcement officers. That is with our hands up, down, with or without a weapon. I could have on jeans, a fitted, and a hoodie, or I could be dressed like this. It doesn't matter because I can't change my skin complexion. regardless of how educated I may or may not be, how eloquently I may speak, it doesn't matter. Someone said to me one day, they said, oh, you know, black people, you know, you're an endangered species. I said, no, we're not. I said, because to be endangered would mean we go on a government list.
Be protected.
And we would be protected. We're not an endangered species. Not at all. Okay? We would be protected from becoming extinct. These are things that we have to think about. You see, but the onus is on us. We can't expect to hold law enforcement and our elected officials accountable if we don't hold ourselves accountable.
Amen.
We have to. You see, we know that locally, nationally, you know, even statewide, our leadership or the elected officials are not doing all that they could be doing. But what hurts the most is that there is a collective failure of community and faith-based leadership in our communities. This place should be jam-packed with leadership. Where are all the clergy? Where are they at? Where are all the elected officials that you probably voted for and put in office? Where are they? Why are they not here? This is the conversation that you have to have with them. You know, they can no longer ignore the elephant in the room. So my message to leadership, elected, community, faith-based, I tell them all, anywhere I speak at, you're on notice. You can take it as a formal announcement or you can take it as a warning, but you're on notice. And that means that we will stand up and we will continue to try to stop this black-on-black violence that's happening in our communities, the senseless killing of each other. But we will also stand up and we will fight and demand that there's some type of accountability in extrajudicial killings and summary executions by those who swore an oath to serve and to protect. And if our elected officials, if our community leaders, if they do not stand up, step up, and do what we want them to do, then we have to let them know that just as quickly as we elected you in the office, we'll vote you behind right back out. And that's what has to happen. So I'm going to shut up right now because I guess I can go on and on about this issue. But thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you guys. And, I'm here when you need me. If you need me, I'm here.